Let's move to Libya now, where Muammar Gaddafi's forces are gaining ground. They're pushing the rebels back, tightening their grip on the coastal road linking his territory to the rebel-held east. His troops have now taken over the key oil port of Ras Lanouf and the nearby town of Brega. Further east, there have been fierce attacks on Ajdabiya, which is on the way to the opposition stronghold of Benghazi. Emike Umolu has the latest.
Days ago, these men were on the winning side, in Ras Lanouf at least. After controlling the town for a week, they've been driven out. In nearby Brega, they load bullets on the side of the road, preparing to go back and fight.
You've caused this anger, and now you have anger beyond anything you've ever seen. Gaddafi, you monkey, you dog, you tyrant.
But the insults don't change the facts on the ground. The opposing side, Muammar Gaddafi's forces, are better equipped, better trained, and getting better at retaking territory. The seizing of Ras Lanouf, a key oil-producing area, will only encourage them to keep pushing into the largely rebel-held east. The Libyan leader wants the world's media to see another city his men have captured. He invited journalists into Aljazeera. They weren't allowed access during the fighting, so there's not much footage to contrast with these scenes of celebration.
It's just some gangs and people who like to destroy the country. Then the Libyan army came and cleaned everything up. Nothing is happening.
What look like freshly dug graves suggest something different. We don't know how many people, rebel fighters or not, died in the fighting here. Gaddafi's forces are pushing forward, but Libya's second largest city, Benghazi, remains firmly in the hands of the opposition. And the rebels say they're determined to keep it that way. Emike Umolu, Aljazeera.
Let's talk to Anita McNaught, who's in Tripoli for us, but is operating under close government supervision. So, Anita, is it your sense also that the government forces are kind of consolidating their gains and moving forward?
Absolutely, very slowly and deliberately. And I think watching how they're proceeding now, it's possible to discern a pattern here. We aren't seeing the full engagement of Gaddafi's military forces. In fact, I'm told today that the army, in its full military sense, hasn't even been deployed and may not be. That the clean-up effort, as the person in the package so delicately called it earlier on, has been achieved through the use of the various paramilitary brigades under Colonel Gaddafi's command, and not by the regular army itself. And the progress has been very slow, very steady, and I think with the policy of watching what the rebel forces were capable of, also recognizing that they were untrained and insufficiently supported from behind. They've been waiting for them to tire themselves out, run out of ammunition, worry about what Colonel Gaddafi could unleash next, and generally slowly decrease and erode their morale while they push steadily forward. The next fighting will be around the town of Misrata. That's strategically clear. And then, of course, what happens in Benghazi, that's a much, much bigger question.
You mentioned that the fighting hasn't been conducted by the regular army itself. Do you think that could be because the regular army isn't quite trusted? I mean, that the danger is that they might not be as loyal to the regime, and if they're out there on the streets, they could perhaps be turned?
That's always been a theory that's been abroad. It's something that we've discussed before. Untested, unknown. I mean, so much is unknown about this country. You cannot reach senior figures for comment. People do not go on the record anymore unless they have government backing. Apart from the people who will speak to you from Benghazi and the people who will speak to you from outside the country, it's extraordinarily difficult to ascertain with any certainty at all where people's loyalties lie. I mean, certainly for a large amount of people in this country, they've simply been sitting back and waiting to see who would come out on top before declaring any allegiance at all. But I think on the subject of strategy, there's one other point that's worth making, and it's the one on the issue of airstrikes. I think the government realizes very clearly that the one thing that would set the international community off is the too liberal use of airstrikes. So every time I've had access to a figure in the Gaddafi administration, they've been keen to point out that their airstrikes have been very limited in their use, that they've only targeted open ground. These things haven't quite been borne out by the facts on the ground. I have to say the videos we've seen, what our own teams have reported, for example, there was a hospital that was hit behind a few days ago in Ras Lanuf, which caused the evacuation of the hospital. Clearly that was not an entirely innocent strike, but I'm told there were fighters in the hospital, something I'd be interested in hearing from Ras Lanuf about. But the issue of airstrikes, more than anything else, is the one that might have been the one that got the international community more engaged in intervening in this conflict, and it's something that clearly the government has been careful to use sparingly.
OK, Anita, thank you very much indeed. Anita McNaught, live in Tripoli.